Meeple Talk! Hello everyone, we are Meeple Talk. Welcome
Indeed.
back. So hopefully you've been stuck with us. Well, I guess not hopefully
Stuck with us.
but hopefully you've been
So
sticking
boring.
around and watching our videos for
Yes.
this year. So what we're doing today is a commemorative look back to 2016 because January 2016 is when we officially started on the Dice Tower. So thank you so much for hosting us, and for those watching, thank you for watching. So we thought we'll do our very first top 5 review, or I guess a recap, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
The top 5 games of the year.
Of the year. So we decided to do a little bit of a different format, not necessarily sticking to just games produced and published in 2016, but the ones that we reviewed. So some of them might peel over to different years, really.
Indeed.
So, a lot of hard work. I got my fancy list on my napkin here.
Very professional.
Yes, I know, exactly. Nothing but the best. So, before we dive into it, I guess when ranking, I know for my personal list, I decided to go with a general 5. Not necessarily ranking number 5 to number 1, because I liked my selection of games. They're kind of good for different reasons, so it's kind of hard for me to narrow down to exactly the top. Do you have your list ready, sir?
I do.
Yes. Where's that
Big
coming from?
reveal.
I don't know.
Better not to ask. So, yes, and I have my list here. So my list is numbered.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily to say that one is a lot better than the other, but I put them in an order. So
Okay.
we're
sure.
doing things differently. So
Okay.
it should be interesting.
Would you like to start, or shall I start? How do you want to do it?
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
My number 5 was Takenoko plus Chibis. So we reviewed the Chibis expansion, and I really liked how it made the game a lot more interesting, a lot more strategy, a lot of fun things in the game. The Chibis, all of the interesting tiles that they added. I really thought it was a great game. Like I thought that Takenoko, the base game, was a good game, but didn't really have enough meat. But when you added Chibis, and they really did a really good job with it, so I think the Takenoko with Chibis is a great game. So that made number 5 on my list.
Yeah, and it made it feel a lot more full. And so, that was a really enjoyable one. One of the ones that I really liked, we have it behind here, World's Fair. So this is one of the ones that we had from our Gen Con series. So you may have seen our recap of that festival, or I guess convention. And it's one that, it's a really interesting one because it's a little bit, if you like, when it comes to planning, it's a little bit mathy too. But if you like little tidbits of history, if you're a trivia person, it's one of those games that you can play just for the sheer enjoyment of the actual mechanics, but also do a little background reading. It's one of those that stirs the curiosity. Artwork's great. It's got great flavor. I just really got into that one. So that one's definitely on my list. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good game.
Yeah, cool.
I liked it. Didn't make my list, but that's not to mean to say I didn't like it. I did like it. In fact, it was really hard to come up with this list. I mean, if you've tried this at home, like if you play a lot of games,
Don't try this.
don't try this.
Our
You'll be
friendship
like,
is forever damaged because of this list.
No. It's fine. All right. So, my number 4 is, again, a game with an expansion. It's Castles of Mad King Ludwig. I should be bringing these out. I mentioned Takenoko, so there's Takenoko with the Chibis. I don't know if I have the Chibis expansion, but here is Castles of Mad King Ludwig. This is a great puzzle game with a great set collection and different things you can do. I like the auction of the buildings, so you can compete with other players, try to, deny them the ability to grab a particular room that they really want, and price things. And I think it's got a few different mechanisms that are really designed well. So I really like this game.
This one actually did end up on my list too. I really like it too. The artwork's great. It's got great flavor, and I like that market in there, the way they designed that. And so it's and also it's one of those ones where the expansion itself, you think the base game's really, really good, but the expansion really does well. I don't even know how to say. It develops it in a different way. It does make it feel more full, but not in the way that you feel sorry for just having the base game, where you don't even want to play the base game anymore. it equally is enjoyable no matter which version you do. And I think that's really smart in the way they design
and
that
I
one.
think even with the original view, I actually prefer the expansion. I like the idea that instead of the game, your castle just sprawling all over the place, you actually, there's an advantage and a point advantage to, putting your castle inside.
It
that
forces
container.
you.
I really like
to
that.
confine.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, so I would have to say I agree with that one too.
Super fun game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next up. What do we got?
No,
well,
that
mine
was
matches
my
yours, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, mine that was on my list too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess we're up to number 3 now.
Yes.
Okay. My number 3 was Imperial Settlers.
Whee! That's this one right here.
Yeah, so Imperial Settlers surprised me because, first of all, I'm not as big a fan of card games or board games that are card games that are masquerading as board games. But we played this, 3 or 4 times, and wow, it just got better and better. I just love the mechanic where you've got all these different actions, and as long as you can string together more actions
you've got a good compounding effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then the turns just keep going and going until everyone is out. And I really like that mechanic because you feel like, I can make the fun keep going. You know what I mean? And I can rack up more points by being clever, by using the cards in my hand to create more resources and then use those resources to, power some other effects. It's a really cool game.
And also what makes it interesting, too, is that you've got your own game that you're working on. It does have a level of competitive... there's competition out there that you can kind of hurt or destroy other people's plots or their resources. But also, too, depending on the civilization you are, you might be able to use self-destruction to your own advantage. And that was kind of a neat one. So it gives a nice little twist, depending on your level of experience, if you want to take it to that... Well, what was it? Was it the Japanese civilization that did that?
Yeah, they had special rules, which is cool. And then there's an expansion we haven't played yet. There's an where they can add another race. Which again is unique in different ways, so I really like that aspect as well. So this is a really cool game. Yeah, I really like it. So that's cool. Number 3.
Very cool. Then
what else have you got?
For a more lighthearted game, because we got some strategy games here. For a lighthearted game, we got Broom Service. So again, back behind you. This one. Let me just have a look here. So how would you describe this? So you've got your witches, you've got these limited movements where you can fly and deliver potions. You've got your helpers that you'll collect the ingredients to create those potions. And the meeples are shaped really nice. It looks like a kid's game, but it plays like a full adult game. And so this is the one that we, in our previous reviews, highly reviewed. And so I don't know what much more to say beyond that. It's a simple game that you can pick up, you can go with, but also, like with some other games where you've got some customizability in the board, helps avoid the kind of replay bore of like, oh, we already know how this works.
Yeah, there's the other side of the board and there's all the other pieces. You kind of it'll be a while before you get through all of the different expansions and so on that are included in the game, which is cool. And I like the theme, and I just like all the different kinds of strategies that you can use. It's one of those games where there's actually different strategies. So,
and I like this idea of bravely versus cowardly going through.
Yes.
It's also a bluffing game as well. And so for a game that seems very on the surface, like a very lighthearted play, it creates a lot of social interaction. And I like this bluffing capability. So for me, that was just a lot of fun. Every time I played it with my friends, we had a blast just trying to, guess each other out. And so it's really, really, I can't even say what I'm saying.
There's a fewer. Again, it's similar to what was the other game I mentioned? Castles of Mad King Ludwig, where they have a few mechanics and they put them together in a really great way, and it turns out to be a really fun game.
It's neat. It's clean. It works really, really well. Yeah, I say grab that one.
Yeah, that actually is on my runner-up.
Oh,
so that would have been number 6 if we had done a top 6.
I got a runner-up
for me.
Okay.
We'll get to your runner-up.
All
right. So we come to mine number 2 now. This game I think came out in 2015, maybe even earlier. I don't know. Black Fleet. So we played this game, and wow, what a surprise. It has that Machi Karo kind of card mechanic where you flip up, you have to pay for and then flip up the cards. But, and there's some really unique powers, and different players will have different powers. And then the way you have to, ship your goods across the sea, and then you have to avoid other players, and there's the navy, and you can be sunk, and you can use your pirates to get treasure, and it's very thematic. It's very strategic, and from one game to another, all sorts of different things can happen. It's just not a boring game. It's a very interesting game, and I loved it. And so it made number 2 on my list.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then what have I got here? Let's see here. Mysterium.
Ooh.
So this one's a really, really cool one. So we also have it here somewhere, I believe. Yes, no, I don't know.
Mysterium?
It may be on loan. I think it's on loan. I'm so sorry because this
We're
one.
looking everywhere.
And one of the reasons why I'm kind of sad about it that way we don't have it with us is that it is a beautiful, beautiful game. So we've described it before as a combination of Dixit and Clue. That's kind of what it is. You're using this beautiful artwork to try to essentially help clue people into who the murderer was and what tools they used and everything to solve the crime. And so they've got this beautiful mask with your crows and the illustrative artworks. And it's another one where, and one of the reasons I picked it, again, different kind of mechanics. And one of the reasons why I liked it is that you interacted with your friends, especially if you're the ghost, in a silent way. You're handing out cards, and they have to try to imagine what it is you're trying to communicate to them about the possible people, objects, and things like that to solve the mystery. And so you get to learn a lot about how your colleagues or your friends or whoever it is you're playing with, how they think. It's a really interesting test on mental leaps. And so I think it really ties nicely when you talk about Clue and Dixit. It really ties those types of games together, and it's very, very done. Like it's done very, very well.
Yes.
And so visually, it's beautiful. I just can't say enough about it. I really like that one.
Yeah. So that's not on my list. I kind of forgot about it, but I think I'm still sticking with my list. But Mysterium is an amazing game, and what I really like about it is, unlike Clue or Dixit, you can be the ghost or you can be one of the players. And being the ghost is a completely different experience. You're like frantically trying to find clues, and then
I like being the ghost.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, I don't have enough cards, and you use a crow, and then you pick up some more cards, or I think you discard your hand. It's been a long time since we played it, but it's just a really interesting experience where you're just, trying to give clues, but you can't say anything, you can't do pantomime, nothing. It's just the cards. So, yeah, it's very thematic too as well. So, fantastic game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
All right, next up for you.
All right. My number 1.
We're on number 1 already? Oh my god.
I'm on number 1. You will be. That sounds very good.
I know.
So, this may surprise you, I don't know, but Mission Red Planet. So, this is a re-release of, or a repackaging of the original game. Yes. And
we're destroying our set just for
I really like this game.
Yeah.
It's very thematic. You basically, put your miners on rocket ships and launch them to Mars and the moon Phobos, and you're collecting minerals. And it's got a steampunk theme. You have like 7 cards, and they all have different actions, and once you've played them all, then you have to recall them with the 7th card, I believe.
Yeah, and you've got this interesting countdown that you've got to do. So much like flight in space, you've got your countdown, but that can dictate which player and their action gets to go.
Yes, and that's very important because players can sabotage each other. You might have a few guys on a rocket ship ready to go, and then boom, that was exploded by another player. And then all those guys are gone. And then they go to... There's a memoriam or something like that, astronaut memoriam, where you can actually, in some cases, collect points for that, depending on the cards you have. But I love the mining, and you don't know how valuable each area on Mars will be, and trying to get your guys on there and then trying to maneuver them in the right places.
Sometimes
to
the extra objectives that are secretly hidden around the surface of the planet can totally change what rewards happen at the end. So you could completely, bonus or completely undo your benefit depending on what it says. So it's really cool. It has a lot of replayability just because these little things can change it up so much. So yeah, it's a sweet game.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm biased because I tend to win this game when I play it as well, but I think people tend to like the games the most that they're really good at. I don't know. Or maybe I was just lucky. Maybe I was just lucky. But anyway, I thought this game had great art and great gameplay. It's very elegant and simple, and I think the best games are that way. They're elegant and simple. They don't have a lot of extra stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely a good one to go with.
So what's your last?
My last. Oh, yes. I've got Isle of Skye. So from the same. So we got a theme here because we already mentioned Broom service as well. So Isle of Skye. Where did that one go? So this is where.
Don't think we have it. We borrowed that. Yes.
Yes, John, thank you so much.
Yes.
I should, before I continue further, our friend John has been really, really great about giving us a lot of games to show and review, so we have them for you. Same thing with our friend Kyle as well, so thank you guys so much. Yeah. So, you make our jobs a lot easier, so thank you so much, and I appreciate your generosity for letting them use your games for lengths of time on end, so we appreciate that. So one of those was Isle of Skye, and I believe that one of the Spiel des Jahres.
That's right.
I forget which category it was. Was it
just the game of the year?
Just the game of the year. Yeah. So, and it's one of those ones where you've got kind of like Carcassonne. You have your tiles that you have to place. Certain landmarks, matching landmarks. Roads didn't really matter though, but you've got really interesting. Sections of where you have kind of like Castle of the Mad King Ludwig. You've got your master market where different types of objectives that you meet may have different rewards depending on the round that it has. You've got rewards for people who, depending on your winning order that you are, and you might get some extra bonuses if you're behind. But also, so it's a tile laying game, but it's also an auction-based game. So you've got your tiles that you're hiding behind the screen, you're putting prices on them, hoping people will buy what you want, or maybe using your pricing to advantage that you can then hoard the tiles that you want if it was advantageous to
maybe
you.
Even hope that they'll buy what you don't want, so you can use what you do.
Right. So it's got a lot of interesting ways of trying to persuade or dissuade other people from buying your tiles and then just getting to lay them all out. So I really, really enjoyed that one. It was really fun to play, and it was fun. I remember when we filmed that video too, it was really fun to describe as well. So we just got a good kick out of the game in all its different stages. So,
it's interesting. We did that video, and I felt like there wasn't a really big response, and then when the Spiel des Jahres, and I felt like we were kind of vindicated. Okay, we were like, why don't more people like this game? And sure enough, a lot of people do like this game, at least in Europe.
Exactly. No, so I just think that is a really, really great one. So I'd say, and so we've got a theme.
Yeah, and I just want to mention that the set collection, the way it's done in that game is genius, where they have like an A, B, C, and D, but the A will show up 2 or 3 times, and the B will show up, and you can strategize. You can say, well, I don't care about the A set collection. I'm going to go for the B, C, and D, and by the time I get there, I'll score for a lot of points. And there's all kinds of interesting strategies you can use. Yeah. So that really makes the game, I think. Yeah. For me.
So that rounds up my top 5. Now there are some honorable mentions and runners up that we were going to get to. So one of my runners up, because it is very hard when you play a lot of games that you just really like, it's really hard to narrow it down. So one of the ones that I wanted to mention that didn't quite make the cut was Imhotep. It is a newer game. It is a really, really good game where you've got different formations, like maybe a pyramid or obelisk or some other type of ruins that you have to reconstruct. And it's also not quite a betting game, but in a sense, you're kind of with other players deciding the goods load order on certain ships and then deciding when to send each ship and to which area and zone. So you've got to, so it's very mathematical, also with a little bit of market variability, but it's very, you have to not only try to get your pieces on the plots that you want in the order that you want them, but you have to somehow place them in such a way that you can maybe try to influence others to help in your particular build mission, or dissuade them somehow. So it's very challenging on multiple levels, both in the pattern creation and also your influence. Yeah. And so it was a really, really interesting game. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, I really wanted to make my cut, but I'm going to give it a runner-up because it is something that you really have to try. It is a newer game. Yeah. Please check it out.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like a competitive puzzle games. Like,
yes.
You know what you do. There's like 5 puzzles, or I think 4, I forget. But anyway, you're wanting to score on these different puzzles, but you need to get there, and other people are trying to get in front of you. So that's what I find makes it really interesting. So, speaking of honorable mention, my honorable mention happens to be the same game we just talked about, Isle of Skye. Oh. Isle of Skye is a great game. Did we just talk about that one?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
His memory is short.
Yes. So, we've already talked about it. Anyway, let's not go there.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so I thought that was a great game as well. Blah, blah, blah. You've heard it all.
Exactly.
It's a good game.
What more can you say? And for me, even though I had Imhotep as a runner-up, I do want to give an honorable mention to Camel Up Super Cup. The reason why it didn't really make my list is because it was an expansion. We reviewed original Camel Up last year. So this one was our very first review that we had on the Dice Tower early January 6th, 2016. So I really wanted to mention this one because Camel Up, I just really love that game. And the expansion, again, it's one of those expansions, like we mentioned with Castles, is that it doesn't ruin the base game. It's a great way to add more fullness to the game that doesn't destroy the feeling of the original game. The pieces, they continue with the 3D nature of the cardboard pieces that you assemble for cameras, for stands, and the crowds as well. The different types of betting and tokens that you can use to either do partnerships with people or take snapshots of the camels piling up on each other. So I really recommend this one as a game to build upon. So I recommend first get Camel Up and also get this expansion. So I really wanted to mention this one. It is so much fun, but because it's not a full game, I thought it'll be honorable. Yeah,
very honorable.
Yeah, very honorable.
Camels, they get me right here.
Exactly.
And here, 2 humps.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm not sure.
I don't know where I was going with that. Let's just end it here.
Sure. But yeah, that has been our recap. So for 2016. So thank you so much for being with us in our first year. We're going to keep coming back with more. So please keep on watching. We hope to see you soon. And we like when you leave your comments. We try to comment back as much as possible. So thank you. Keeping that conversation going. We always want to hear from you.
Yes.
So yeah.
Hope you had a great year.
Yeah.
See you in 2017.
Exactly.
Good night.
See ya.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.